Okay. Probably everyone just heard that it's recording is in progress now. So this is Mark, everybody. Thanks for all of you who have hopped on. Mark will kind of go over what his experience has been like with his operating his two stores and answer questions from you guys. So go ahead, Mark, and take it from here.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking I would do like a 5 or 10 minute kind of background on uh, who I am, how I got into FiiZ, my two stores. Then yeah, I'm open to questions. I'm cool being pretty transparent. So yeah, I'm Mark Miller. I live here in Orem, Utah. Got a wife and 4 kids, and for my day job, I own a marketing agency with another guy. We do fractional marketing leadership and mostly with companies that are in the tech space around here. And it's been a good ride. I've been doing that for 3 years. Before that, I was doing marketing just in the tech world. And then before that, I owned a like small sporting goods store here in Utah and a couple of e-commerce companies. And I've enjoyed marketing the past 8, 9 years, but I've always missed kind of that owning that smaller business. And yeah, earlier this year, like just I guess January or February, I started looking at different opportunities of uh different businesses I could buy or franchises I could get into, and I was on Biz Buy Sell a lot and signed a lot of NDAs. And um that's I learned a lot about like what businesses I was interested in, what I was able to do. HVAC companies seemed really awesome, but I know nothing about HVAC companies. And my wife and I have been going to the different soda shops around here for a long time, and I enjoyed the concept. So a couple of those popped up on my feed on Biz Buy Sell. That was like back in February or March, and so I got under contract on one down in the Katy, Texas area, Jordan Ranch, and that's been good. It's an unprofitable store. Last month we got pretty close to profitable, which was really exciting. But it was a unprofitable store when I purchased it, and I was good with that. I was good with kind of a project, a turnaround project that sounded fun to me. And I think also with it being out of state, I was good with kind of going down there once or twice a month, and that sounded like an adventure. I work from home most of the time, and so that sounded like kind of an adventure for me at the time. Where maybe that wouldn't sound like much of an adventure for some people, but it sounded good to me. And so yeah, I bought that and closed on it in May, and owned that for a couple of months. I started getting the bug again. Saw that the Evanston, Wyoming location popped up, and I got under contract and closed on that September 1st. And that one is a good profitable location. My experience so far has been great. I'm a startup guy. I like small businesses where I have a lot of feel like I have a lot of influence, and I feel like that with the locations I own. And then I also feel like with FiiZ corporate itself, I feel like I'm able to like voice opinions and they're heard, and I really appreciate that. I looked at other opportunities where it was more like, this is what you do, and like there's no kind of going beyond that. And I didn't love that idea. I wanted a playbook, but I wanted to be able to like give my feedback, and FiiZ was like a good fit for me that way. So that's a little bit of background on me. I guess personally, I like BYU sports a lot. It's a big week for me. Been really hoping for a good weekend. I like let's see what else. I like going for runs. That's fun. And yeah, uh, Fizz has been fun so far. Uh, Justin, anything I missed there, or should I just open it up for questions or
No,
anything you
yeah.
think?
No, I think that's great. Let's open it up for questions, and you guys can we've got kind of a small group here. We've got 11 people total on.
Okay.
So you guys can just unmute yourselves and ask a question, or type it in the chat, and I can kind of be on the chat and make sure that that's being answered as well. So yeah, go for it.
I have a question. So
Okay.
we were wondering, do you guys have any FiiZ locations that are like attached to a gas station right now?
Ooh, I actually don't know the answer to that. But I've talked to a few people who do want to. I don't think that we're opposed to that concept, but we'd have to look at all those details.
Okay, but as of right now, you don't know any
Yeah,
gas stations that have the FiiZ connected with it on the side.
yeah, yep. Um, there may be one, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, yeah, we were just trying to get some insight into that because
Yeah,
the
and you could schedule a time to talk with me a little bit more in depth, and I can kind of go over the details on that.
yeah, that'd be good because we have a gas station being built in Chubbuck, Idaho, near Pocatello, and
Mm-hmm.
we have the perfect space for like a drive-through operation for a FiiZ. But we
Cool.
just wanted to see if like any other locations have had like the experience and what kind of outcomes have come from that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we can schedule a time to talk more in depth about that, and I'll try to find more answers for you there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Justin, I've got a few, but first of all, how do you decide location, and do your competitors even play into that at all? Sometimes it looks like someone will put in a soda, shop, and then, a few months later, there's two other competitors right by them. So just wondering how that plays into your locations.
Right. And we've got a real estate team that helps with those things. And again, like we can talk a little bit more about that. The purpose of this call is more to talk with Mark about his experience with his
Okay.
stores and ask him questions about how his stores have been operating and what it's kind of get the mindset of what it's like for you guys once you're in his shoes, you know?
Okay. Well, then let me ask you, Mark. Um, you have how many stores?
I have two.
Two. And were they, so one was already there. Were both of them already up and running when you took over?
They were.
Both of
Yep.
them.
And yeah, and I can give you my reasoning, and I don't know if my reasoning is right or not, and I don't want it to persuade you with whatever you're thinking, but I'll give you my reasoning. So I am not I wouldn't consider myself like a restaurateur. I'm a marketing guy, and I really like marketing, and but I also I like owning small businesses, and the FiiZ concept is exciting because it's simple, right? Like I'm not like baking anything from scratch in there or anything like that. It's a simple concept that I could get excited about. Um, but I didn't feel like in my area of Orem, like when I drive my kid to school in Pleasant Grove, it's a like 8 minute drive, and I kid you not, I pass six soda shops on the way to his school. And so like it felt like in like my area where I really understand like the real estate and the locations, there's a lot of soda shops. And so for like where I live, it felt like might not work. Uh, at least maybe it would, but it would be difficult. But like out in areas outside where I don't understand the locations as well, or what is a good corner of the street, what's a bad corner of the street. Purchasing a location where it was already figured out for me felt like a good way to do things. And so that's just that was my thought process. And again, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that was kind of my if then branch logic. If there was a corner down the street that I knew would work, I'd love to open a location.
Mark, this is Ethan. I have a question
Hey,
for
Ethan.
about your Evanston office. So I
Yeah,
come from Star Valley, Wyoming, but I currently live in Bentonville, Arkansas.
yeah,
And Maverick, growing up, was our go-to place for soda.
yeah.
And Maverick recently just purchased all the come and goes nationwide, which is a huge gas station out here in Northwest Arkansas and beyond. And so how have you found that FiiZ sets itself apart? Because we know cost-wise, we as FiiZ are much more expensive than Maverick is. However, Maverick has so many more options now. How have you seen FiiZ standing apart from that? And number two, how have you been able to profit yourself or maintain a profit in that area when you have something so cheap?
Yeah, good question. And to be honest with you, sometimes I go to Maverick for soda. I would say that they are the best gas station soda. However, it's not nearly as good as FiiZ soda. I drink a fair amount of soda, so I think that is genuinely one differentiator. I think our soda, the ratios are better. I think we are more experts at soda. I think at Maverick, soda is like one of the things that they have, whereas at FiiZ, like that is what we sell. Is we sell soda. So I think our soda is better. I think we have unique flavor combinations where as Maverick, like the Maverick I go to sometimes, they have like some syrups on the counter, which is fine. But I think at FiiZ we are saying, hey, here's these unique flavor combinations. We have them picked out for you. If you want to do a custom, you can, but we already have these great flavor combinations picked out. And so that's one. Number two, we have a drive-through. Number three, we have great kids drinks. There's probably a fourth. I can't think of it right now. It's probably a fifth too. But those are like the top three that come to mind. And I think that why in Evanston, why we attract people to our store.
Perfect. And also, Marc,
what was your second question?
Well, you answered it. But I jumped on right when you said that you purchased Evanston. Where is your second location?
Katy, Texas.
Oh, on the west side of Houston?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep.
Hey, thanks for your answers. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Marc, leading into that, there's a question in the chat asking, why is the location in Katy, Texas not profitable?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there's been a lot of learning for me in that. So like I said, I'm a marketing person. I don't think I'm God's gift to marketing, but I think I'm fairly good. And going into that, I felt like, okay, in 1, 2, 3 months, I'm turning this thing around. Good profits, right? Because I felt like it maybe just had been under marketed. And I think that I have been able to do some good things there. But one, the education piece is real. We're like, you've got to educate people about here's our product. You've never tried this product before. And it's not just enough to like show them a picture and say, hey, here's our product. This is exciting, right? I think that you have to incentivize them to get into the store. So whether that's like, a free pretzel with a drink, or talking to the kids' school and doing like a spirit night, or doing a delivery to their business and like working to arrange that. Like really, I think it requires like some good work. But once people try it, people really like it. And that's like why last month we were really close to profitable, is because instead of going like where I was originally thinking is like, I'm just going to blast these people with Instagram ads, which I think works in some ways, but like we've instead put more effort into like okay, we're going to arrange deliveries with businesses, we're going to arrange deliveries with schools, and we're going to make it easier for these people to like try our product. And once they try it, they really like it. And then they bring their families in on Saturdays and they like it too. But like I think like the way I was looking at how to market it was at least not totally right at first. But big answer is there's a lot of education that has to be done outside of kind of the Intermountain area. Does that answer your question?
So
yes, that was my question. Yeah.
How is it managing these stores long distance?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so at the Evanston store, I I bought the store and I have a great manager there, and that one's been relatively easy. At the Katy, Texas store, I had a good manager, and 3 or 4 weeks in, she put in her 2 weeks, and that was not ideal, and that was difficult. But I quickly hired a really good manager. To be honest with you, I wanted to find someone that uh, I worked around their schedule, but I found someone that was uh, prior to working at FiiZ, she was a stay-at-home mom, and I wanted someone that could take the food handlers manager course. I wanted them to understand like food safety. I wanted them to understand like my vision for like marketing, and then I wanted them to be the adult in the room and just take charge. And so I feel like I got her at a fairly good rate, and she's been 10 out of 10 awesome. And so with her in the store, it's been honestly relatively easy. I'm still working on like running payroll and finances and all that, but finding a manager like that, I wish I would have done that like immediately. But it took me like 2 or 3 weeks to like kind of get to that point where this is the type of person I want. But once I hired that person, like having a store in Katy, Texas is no problem at all.
Great.
Hey, Mark, Brandon Miller, no relation, I don't think. But good last
You're
name. I like it.
you're not in Utah. You're not of the Utah.
I'm in
Millers?
Arizona.
Oh, okay.
We're brothers out of Arizona, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
similar.
Great. Great.
Quick question. I'm a numbers guy, so I'm going to kind of go that route if that's all right. And if there's any
Okay.
numbers you want to talk about, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Define for me real quick. It's a two-parter. Define for me what considers to be profitable and not profitable for you, right? Are you actually in the red type thing, right, in Katy, or you know what I mean, like what's going on there? And then secondly, what do you like? We have a pretty high minimum wage here in Arizona. We're borderline California minimum wage. It's terrible. So what does your pay structure look like for a general employee versus a manager versus maybe a shift leader or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Okay, so let me start with the first question. So what does unprofitable versus profitable mean to me? So I'm not necessarily looking at EBITDA. Like I guess I could, but with both businesses, I'm looking at like after everything's all done, did I turn a profit? Did I make money this month? And in the case of the one in Katy, I've been putting money into the business. So that's what unprofitable means to me. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and that's what I figured you meant by it. Like
Okay.
you're actually having to fork out your own money to keep it afloat essentially right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously you're looking to turn that around. That's obviously something that's going to take a little time. Okay.
Right.
And then obviously in the Evanston one, you are profitable. What are your numbers looking like there?
Yeah. So revenues, and I've owned it for 2 months, right? But like kind of looking at this year and like some projections, but mostly hard numbers. I think we'll end the year around 600,000 in revenue, and then profitability is around like 75. Okay. And Evanston's
So
nice.
Just over 10%. Is that pretty normal? Do you know? Or I guess you're new to this, right? But
I'm
I
pretty
own
new
a
to
pool
this.
business on the side, right? And your target goal is 35% profitability on your billing, right? And so is that pretty normal to be around 10 to 15%?
I'm not sure. I've looked at a few of these. I've looked at a few of these, and yeah, I think like for cash flow, I think maybe in the next couple of years we can like increase that profitability number with the revenue. But yeah, I think like for right now, I'm happy with that 75K number.
Right, and you're pretty hands off. You know, you're not not completely, right? Obviously, you're not in the store every day. You don't live there every day, right? And then just into the second part, what's a typical, like you said, you just hired a good manager. What are their salary looks like versus like a normal employee? I know Texas is going to be a lot different than Arizona, but I'm just curious.
It is. So like in Evanston, that's a good spot. That's a good spot for employment, or I guess finding employees as the employer. So I'm paying most of the employees minimum wage or right around there, and minimum wage is like $7.25, I think. So I'm paying them like $7.75, $8, $8.50 an hour. I think $8.50 for shift leads. And then I have a manager there where I inherited their pay structure, and they're making $30,000 a year. And if it was me, I probably wouldn't have structured it that way. But it's tough to put the toothpaste back in the tube once it's out. But yeah, I probably would have structured it where she is at like $12 or $13 an hour with some sort of additional bonus based on like a few different metrics. And then in Texas is a little bit more, Katie's a little bit more expensive, where kind of our starting pay for high school kids is $8 an hour. But that quickly, like once they're in for like 3 or 4 months, like I've got to get them up to like 950. And then shift leads are making 10, 11, 1150. And then my manager is making $14 an hour. And that's honestly probably too low. But I'm paying her $14 an hour, and I'll probably bump her up to like $16 an hour here in the next few months.
Gotcha. Yeah. See, that's what I figured they were. That's the concern, is my basic employee, our minimum wage is more than everything you just described.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
tough.
I question the profitability perspective in Arizona, with our wages being so much higher. I'm sure the cost of goods and everything are probably a little bit higher too, right, to make up for that. But I don't know if it's going to make up that big of a gap where I'm paying, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, I think it's around $15 an hour right now as our minimum wage in Arizona. So we're literally California. It's really high.
Yeah.
So it's one of my concerns about opening the store out here is how can I turn a profit on something where, I'm paying my manager probably $50,000 to $60,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
Because $15 an hour is $30,000 a year, right? They
Sure.
got me, anyways. So something for a side topic for Justin probably. But anyways, thank you for kind of explaining that, and good luck with Katie. Hopefully, you can get that turned around.
Appreciate it. It's been a fun project. I think like I went into it like feeling like this is gonna be fun. Like I'm gonna learn a lot, and I've learned a lot, and it's been awesome. Yeah, I would just say like most hours at the store, at both stores, and Evanston's quite a bit busier than my Katy location. Most hours you can have like 2 employees at the store. Like you don't need 3 or 4. Like even when we're at our busiest, like most of the time when we're at our busiest, we can still get away with like 3 employees, and like the line doesn't back up or anything like that. So those are my 2 locations, but at both locations, when I purchased the locations, I like trimmed down employee hours a little bit, and the customer experience has been the same. So for what it's worth on your end.
With drive-throughs at both locations, or
we have drive-throughs. Yep.
Okay.
And if, again, like to your situation, if I could, I would just have a drive-through, because that simplifies like the employees and like where the staff are, and like where like the stations. If you don't have a lobby and you're not having to have 2 points of sale, you have 1 point of sale, then 2 employees gets pretty easy pretty quick.
Yeah, good call outs. I definitely am leaning towards a smaller location. There's a lot of places, I don't know how it is in your area, but if you go to an In-N-Out or a Chick-fil-A or the lines around the block, it's just like, and the same thing for, we have every soda shop under the sun here. So except for FiiZ. It's like the only one we don't have. But anyways, no, I appreciate it.
What part of Arizona are you in?
The greater Phoenix. So Gilbert.
Cool.
Yeah, southeast. Sorry, southwest.
Very cool.
Sorry, southwest. No, I was right. Southeast. I'm getting
cool.
Hey, really quick, I know he talked a little bit about numbers. Mark, thank you for taking your time out of your day. I know every businessman's day is worth dollars, right? And these are our golden hours here. Thank you for that. So what is your expectation for a ceiling? You know what I'm saying, as far as profit, do you have any expectation? Have you thought that far into it at either location? I kind of agree. I don't know that I can get anybody locally to come work, you know what I mean, for $8 an hour. You might be able to get a high school kid or 2, right? But a lot of the labor, I think, even here in Oklahoma, where I'm at, I think Brahms is paying $15 an hour right now. You know what I mean? Which is a local, like, I'm sure, I don't know if everybody has Brahms or whatever you want to say. McDonald's is paying, $13 an hour here. So we're in an uphill battle, right? I hate to say it, in anything that's in the food and beverage industry, from a perspective of, getting good people for a good wage, right? But what is your ceiling as far as that's concerned? Or have you, again, How much thought have you given that for either location from a net profit perspective? Because I agree with you. Like, hey man, net profit is net profit. Period. It is what you're putting in the bank at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Tax
Right.
basis and all that other stuff. You can play some games there, but for the most part, that's what do you put into your bottom line at the end of the month?
Yeah. Let me just touch on one thing that you said, and then let me touch on one thing you said. I would say that as far as like employees go, so in my Katy, Texas location,
Yep.
the employment is more competitive than my Evanston location.
Sure.
But
And I'm probably closer to that demographic. Like Tulsa,
Yeah.
Oklahoma is a little poorer demographic than Katy, but a lot of very, very similar.
Yeah. And so I would say like, so I'm paying my employees again, I told you kind of what I'm paying the Katy employees. And similarly, like they could drive a couple miles down and like get a job at McDonald's for $13, $14, $15 an hour, but they don't because working at FiiZ is fun. And they also like don't have to clean any grills. Like they're not having to do like some of those jobs that like teenagers dread. And so like when they come to FiiZ,
especially
like
today's teenagers, right?
Right, exactly. But like I'm putting them to work, and like they have checklists, and like they're doing a lot of work. But I think they're also avoiding like a lot of the stuff that they're seeing in TV shows, and just like, oh, I never like want to do that. So they're working hard, like they're getting stuff done, but they're also avoiding I think they're avoiding like a lot of the kind of dirty jobs that they don't want to do. So
yeah, makes sense.
Anyways, well, tell me your question again. That was just
that's all right. That's a good
point.
point. I appreciate the perspective. It's a great point. I never thought of it like that. So no, I was just wondering, like, where is your ceiling as far as your net profit's concerned? I know, again, you don't have that much basis in it, and it's hard to project, but I'm sure that you have some expectation, right? I mean, I don't know this, but I'm thinking that you probably didn't buy at either location thinking that your ceiling was a possible 10% on whatever those numbers are. You know what I'm saying? At $500,000 a year, you know what I'm saying, in total, which would be 50 in profit. Again, making up some numbers there, but what do you think that your ceiling will be, or do you have an expectation for what you want it to be?
Yeah, good question. So I'll just take you through my thought process on kind of how I looked at these, and maybe that'll answer your question, maybe not. We'll find out. So my thought process when I was looking at both of these locations, and in addition to like other opportunities, like when earlier in the year when I was looking at signing a lot of NDAs with Biz Buy Sell, I was looking at like, okay, what am I going to purchase this for? And then even if the numbers, the revenue or profit numbers didn't improve at all, like what does my return look like over the next 5 years? And with the Katy location, that was a turnaround play. And so I thought like, hey, if I purchase it at this price, and then over the next couple of years, I'm able to even turn a profit of or start profiting like 50K a year, like that would be a great ROI for me that like beats the stock market or other business opportunities, or a long-term rental by quite a bit. And so that was kind of my thought process there. With the Evanston location, similar thought process where like, okay, I have like other business opportunities I'm looking at, and the ROI like makes a lot of sense for this, where the ROI is going to, over the next 5 years, it's going to be like these other opportunities I'm looking at with the purchase price I had. I guess for like a ceiling, I don't know if I've considered a ceiling. I was looking at like the numbers as they were, figured like, okay, over the next like couple of years, I think like with some real like a marketing plan and improving the customer experience at both locations, like I figured I could like improve the revenue and then the profitability by like 10, 20, 25%. K is a little different because it's a turnaround play, but I figured I could up the Evanston revenue and profitability by 10, 15, 20%. But I wasn't banking on it. I made the decision based on like, okay, here are the numbers. It's a good ROI. I'm going for it. So maybe I should have been a little more scientific in it, but that's how I looked at it.
No, it would make sense. I mean, if I was buying a business, that would make sense, right? I mean, here in Tulsa, we don't have anything. It would be all from scratch. And I'm looking at the same thing, right? But I'm thinking like, I'm just making up numbers again, but I'm saying, hey, $250,000 to $500,000 investment. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the ROI? ROI for input, with me and Justin have talked about this, you know what I mean? For a 10% return, for me personally, that's not appetizing, right? Or that
Sure.
appetizing, right? I mean, it's like, wow, that's a lot of cash. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of input in there, especially with the fire up, right? Because you're like location, like you said, branding, you're doing a lot of that other stuff. Some of that stuff's kind of taken care of, even if it's done
Yep.
poorly by an existing business, right? It's just you tweaking versus you building. It's a lot more effort put in there. So I
Yep.
just didn't know. I mean, for me, I'm looking for numbers like, I'm thinking like, 25%. I know, again, that's so subjective based off of, the individual owner and how well they run their business, how tight their ship is, how well their marketing dollars are spent, all these things, right? And I know the smallest tweaks make the hugest ripple on down the line with profit, but I just didn't know if you would maybe even see something realistic like that. Do you think 25% is an obtainable number based off some of the numbers that you've seen, again, with some growth on both sides, the top side and on the bottom side? Because really, too, the life cycle of the business, right, is like in the beginning, you probably are overstaffed for the number of customers you have walking in the door, right? But that's part of delivering good customer service. You deliver the good customer service, the customers will come, and you're always trying to fine tune that where you have just the right amount of people to deliver the great customer service. But sometimes when you take that next hurdle from 500K or 600K a year now to 800K, you might need 3 people all the time. Do you see what I'm saying? So, but I mean, obviously all that's part of the life cycle of the business. Do you see something like 25% being obtainable based off of the numbers that you've seen, or does that seem like that's more of a pie in the sky dream?
I don't think it's pie in the sky, but I think it would require really good execution. But I feel like I've seen that, and I feel like that's why I bought the Evanston location, was like, okay, I'm gonna earn that kind of return on it, right? And yeah, so
that's a good answer.
Yeah.
I always say, if it can be gotten, I can get it, right? Just like that, whatever, call it conceited, call it confidence, whatever you want to say, right? Like, hey, if someone else out there that owns a FiiZ, I don't care if it's in, Utah, if it's in Tampa or Tulsa, right? Doesn't matter to me. If somebody else can get it, it can be done. You know what I mean? I can do it. So you've answered my question. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yep. No problem. I would just say that, like, if or when you open your location, like the education piece and like really going after that marketing and like getting the product in people's hands, like in a easy way, that'll be key. That'll be a key part.
Hey, Mark, I know I only scheduled this for half an hour. We don't have a time limit. I don't have a time limit. So I'll just kind of let you, cut it off whenever you're ready to cut it off. And then we've got another question that just came through in the chat. Do you see that?
In the food industry, you will struggle to get 25%. Food and labor are going to be 40% to low 40%, 50%. I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think it's more just a statement, just kind of for everyone that's been talking. The fact that, it's not a realistic expectation. Think you're going to get 25%. You're looking at probably 10 to 15 and maybe a little bit normal. But he's saying that the food and labor are going to be almost 50% of your.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, that was me. My wife was in here, so I was texting it. This is Benson. Yes. So I mean, I've dealt with the food industry for a very long time. I own multiple franchises, and yeah, just your food and labor alone are going to be high 40, low 50%. Just food and labor alone.
All right, guys, this has been fun. If no one has any other questions,
I do, Mark. Sorry.
Good. Oh, you're good, Ethan. I'm excited to stay on.
I just got back from the store and I'm unloading my car and I had my hands full. Oh,
you're good.
Okay, so this is a relatively new area out here in Northwest Arkansas, and we've had entrances, but with Swig recently within less than a year. And also on top of that, we do have one random other soda shop that's here. And I just moved out here from Provo, and understanding all the different soda shops that are there.
Provo, good place. Good place.
Oh yeah. when coming out into this new market, there's a lot of caffeine drinkers, but straight coffee. That's what they're looking for. And they have a lot of shops here that are actual, Justin and I talked about this a little bit. They're more pop-up shops. So imagining like a couple sheds from Home Depot and they put them together and then they create a 2-lane drive-through and that's it. There's nothing beyond that. Imagine the swig that's across the street from BYU campus, but take out the foyer. I guess, like the entrance level. That's all it is out here. And they are completely jam-packed. How have you been able to market, or what are your thoughts now with Katie? Because I'm assuming it's kind of a similar place where it's not as a heavy soda place. I could be wrong, but it's a heavy coffee place. How are you thinking you're going to market against that to get people to pull into you for their, let's say, morning caffeine compared to going and getting their coffee?
Yeah. Well, I think people can have both.
That is true.
They can't have both. And I don't know. Take this for what it's worth here. Okay, let me post that. So that's soda consumption by state. And I think in Utah is like the mecca of all soda. I think it's like towards the bottom-ish of this list.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. And so people drink soda. Like in Katy, Texas, people drink soda, and they drink a lot of it. They also drink coffee, and they also drink cocktails at night. And I think like all of those factor into it, right? All of those like factor into a decision of like if you're gonna get a fun drink, because maybe they're having a cocktail later that night and that satisfies the craving for like kind of creating a fun drink, or maybe they're having a Starbucks earlier in the day. I think all of that kind of factors into it when you're outside of like the Intermountain West. I think like location is a huge factor. So like, are you like right next to the Walmart? Are you or like grocery store, like getting in a great location like that? I think that matters a lot. If you're just kind of, and this even matters here in Utah, like if you're just on like the state highway and you have this random store right there, I think it's going to be really tough. But if you have a good location that's like in kind of a shopping center, I think that's a good way to do it. And then I think, again, like getting the product in people's hands and in an easy way, like whether that's through business deliveries or schools or hospital deliveries, and just kind of trying to schedule those out. I think that matters a lot, in getting the product in people's hands in an easy way. And then I think trying to publicize or promote like limited time offers is another good way just to like get people in the store. And once people are in the store a few times, they become pretty loyal. And that's something I've seen in Katy is like once we get them in a few times, like they come like once a week, twice a week, and it's good. We gotta get the product in their hands a few times in an easy way.
Thank you. That's a great idea. I appreciate it. Marc, I know it's time to go and others are probably wanting to wind down, but what would be the best way to maybe pick your brain offline? Should I hook you up on LinkedIn?
Yeah, you could do LinkedIn, or I could DM you my phone number, and I'd be happy to chat with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm happy to do that for a fellow Utah Countyite.
Well, that's good. I appreciate all of that.
Okay. All right. I DM'd you my number there.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, so one more question for you, Marc. As far as your 2 stores, maybe you can do a comparison between the two. What's your typical sales per hour, of whether you want to do it by number of drinks or total amount of money? And are there certain hours that are better than others that you found?
For sure. And I'll even go to days, and I'll just do I can do dollars. So for the Evanston location is more of a the demographic is a little different than Katy. I think that the Katy location, in our Katy location, we have adults that really like FiiZ, but all the kids in the area love it. And so after school is that it gets pretty bananas in like the 3 hours after school. During the school day, it gets kind of slow. So like our busiest hours at the Katy location are from like 3 to 7, and we do like anywhere from like $100 to like $200 an hour in those hours. And then in the morning it gets a little slower, where it's like 50, even like 25. So it gets low in those morning hours there in Katy. Then in Evanston, it's a little bit more steady, where it's like $100 an hour. Then after school, we still see a spike where it's like gets to like 200, 250, but then it goes back to like 100-ish until like 8 o'clock. And so we also have a little bit of a morning rush in Evanston, where we open at 8:30 and we maybe see like a spike to 150, and then we're back down to like 100. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious.
Okay.
And then do you find that to be a struggle? I know you haven't experienced it yet, but say when school's out, right? Sounds like your best time is right after school.
No, summers are typically a little busier than winter. I think that's probably across all of FiiZ. But like summers are typically a little bit more busy, and in Evanston we get like a lot of traffic going to Bear Lake or places like that, and and then on weekends are Fridays and Saturdays. Those are our busiest days.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just trying to figure out a good location in Arizona, because we're kind of a same climate, crappier. We don't really get cold, right? So we don't really ever shut down. People drink soda all year round. It seems like it'd be a good place. Obviously, the wages concern me a little bit. But yeah, just trying to see like, okay, should I be by a school? Should I not? Should I be close? Trying to find that perfect sweet spot seems to be a challenge in my mind.
Yep.
And are you ever considering expanding and building your own, or is your model more about just purchasing existing?
Yeah. Like as I've like been learning, I'm feeling more comfortable with building my own. But I like that I started with purchasing one or two. But that's just me. And I kind of explained the reasoning for that. But yeah, I was up till like, I don't know. I spent a couple hours, like a few nights ago, like looking at a couple of cities, specifically in Wyoming. Like Wyoming's a nice place to do business. So yeah, I was looking at a couple of cities in Wyoming. So in the next year or two, I'd love to look at that.
And if it's not too personal, what was your actual investment for purchasing a stand-up one? I know the numbers based around what new builds would cost me, but did you get a pretty decent deal considering it was all done, or was it a little more expensive because it was all done? Or
probably wouldn't feel super comfortable sharing that.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. I don't have the option in Arizona, so there are none to buy.
Sure. But I think that if you find the right location, I think that the ROI can be better. If you grab the right location, it can be better than purchasing an existing one. Because once it's a successful location, you're going to pay a premium to purchase it, right? So yeah,
that's what I figured in my mind, is that maybe you paid a little bit more for the Evanston, but maybe you got a pretty good deal on the Katy one since it was struggling a little bit. Kind of that's what I figured. But okay,
right.
And just one more question out of curiosity: have you ever looked in Arizona? Is that something that has ever crossed your mind?
Never looked. When I did my corporate training towards the beginning of the year, when I did my corporate training, there was I trained with a guy that was opening a location in Arizona, and he had some good ideas about it, and he was really excited about it. And I imagine he's done well. But no, I haven't looked at Arizona.
As of right now, there's only one location by U of A that's open, and they're broke ground for another one in Gilbert. So
cool.
Still kind of a new thing, but if you look at if you do a Google search of soda shops in Arizona, it's it's probably pretty similar to Utah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been insightful. I appreciate the time. I do have to jump to another call, but I'm just thank you for your time. I want to personally thank you. I asked a lot of questions, so hopefully I can
happy to share.
Absolutely, yeah. I might reach out on LinkedIn or something if it counts for anything. My daughter goes to BYU in Provo, so maybe that'll be our connection since I'm not from Provo.
Go Cougs!
I see the shirt there. But I appreciate your time. Have a good one.
See ya.
Yes, thanks for your time. It's very helpful.
You're welcome. Happy to jump on, guys.
Yeah.
All right, Justin.
Okay. Calling it. Let's call it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mark. And
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Justin.
Yep.
Okay. See you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Bye.